Yesterday marked 191 years since the very first attempted assassination of a US president. Richard Lawrence, an unemployed house painter, sprung from behind a pillar as Andrew Jackson left a funeral at the US Capitol and pointed a pistol at the president. As he pulled the trigger, the gun failed to fire, so he dropped it to the floor and produced a second pistol, which also failed to fire. And having failed to bring a third pistol, Lawrence was subdued by the crowd, including legendary frontiersman Davy Crockett, who beat him into submission with a cane. Ayr United manager Scott Brown may not have been wearing a coonskin cap yesterday, but he did successfully subdue Raith Rovers as Dougie Imrie's side badly misfired, going down 2-1 at Somerset Park. This is the Oh No 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 podcast. My name is Duncan Cameron, and joining me to talk through another frustrating afternoon on the road, it's Blair Hopcroft. First of all, how are you, Blair?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I thoroughly enjoyed that moment in the middle of your intros where I figured out what the angle is, and it was the takes out a pistol and it doesn't fire, takes out a second pistol. Oh yeah, I know what we're getting at. Yeah, I'm with you. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I was reading about this beforehand. He wasn't convicted for that because so they found him not guilty by reason of insanity because he took two pistols that were notoriously susceptible to moisture, and it was pouring with rain, and they were just like, "This guy's a dafty. Let him go."
I was going to say, that's just stupidity.
Yeah. We've got our resident Ayrshire correspondent as well. We've got Graeme Meldrum. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. I'm actually honoured to be in such esteemed company today. I did trot on to I Am Bovril, and there was a poster who said, both of you two, and I think Robbie, Scott and Les should become our new board of directors. So I've not taken the huff that I wasn't mentioned, but I'm honoured. Gentlemen, I'm absolutely honoured.
In case anyone's listening that thinks that's a good idea, I'd rather rip my own arm off and beat myself to death with it. Thanks very much.
I cannot think of anything worse.
No, totally.
I mean, listen, speak about people being found to be legally insane. I think that Pie and Bovril poster is needing a chap at the door and a health check. That's a dangerously disturbing thought, which, thankfully couldn't possibly be further from anything that would ever be likely to happen. Right, let's talk about football. So, as you said, Rovers beaten 2-1 down at Somerset Park yesterday. Funny game, I think, in a few different ways. It's a game that wasn't exactly overflowing with entertainment.
Quality.
We'd probably say that, yeah, quality as well, but a few kind of talking points that have sprung up from it. To kick us off where we normally do, Graeme, Dougie Imrie went with the same side that beat Queen's Park 4-1 last week. Any complaints about that beforehand, and anything kind of in hindsight since that maybe could have been predicted?
I think, given the 4-1 scoreline, it made sense. Given that Ayr are a big team, it made sense to me as well. I think the last time I was down at Somerset Park, they basically targeted a right back. He was Kieran Freeman. So I think to have height in the full-back position made sense, with Giro starting there. I think to have two bigger guys up front in Winter and Hamilton made sense. And given the fact that it's been chucking it down here, the pitch is going to be heavy, so with Louis Vaughan's knees, probably a good idea not to start him. So I think from looking at the team that lined up, I was more than happy with it, to be fair.
And Blair, for you, was it broadly the same approach as Queen's Park as well?
Again, it's a hard one because the lineup was obviously the same. It's the same team that basically went 3-0 up against Queen's Park as well before we made any changes. But you're playing a very different team on a very different surface. So the game, I'm not sure the game plan became the same, whether the intention was to do the same or not, kind of remains to be seen, I suppose. It just, I don't know. It was just one of the afternoons where, certainly for the first hour, nothing worked. Nothing we were trying to do. It was, and I genuinely mean this. And I always hate when people say, when they've lost a game or whatever. But it was a really poor game between two pretty poor sides, actually. Certainly for the first hour. I don't think either team covered themselves in any glory. It was not a good watch.
I think that's true. I think there's been a lot of friends of mine who've said Ayr are a tough watch at the moment. Now, we've played Ayr over the last few seasons and they've had, you can go back to Logan Chalmers and Josh Mullen on the wing playing really well. That guy Roos and Jamie Murphy before have ripped us, and Jay Henderson, and there was none of that. It was attritional. I would have put the first 60 minutes. Just basically, a goalie's got the ball, hoofed up the park, somebody knocks it back, the other goalie hoofs up the park. It was shite, basically.
Well, Dougie Imrie chose to describe the first half as a good, honest championship game, which I felt was a real kind of euphemism for shite. It
was a good, honest Morton game, is what it was.
Yeah. It was like when I looked at the Morton side, the Ayr United side.
Sorry, that's my fault.
And they've got Liam Dick at wing back. And you think, well, hang on, I've seen this episode before. Like, he's not a flying wing back, put it that way. You know what you're going to get. And I think that kind of typified a lot of that first. I mean, even take the first 20 minutes, I suppose, because the goal changes the game to some degree. Like, he was doing well, but you're still like, he'd be happier at left back. Like,
or left of a three.
Yeah, absolutely. But it felt like both sides had kind of turned up without like a really prescribed game plan.
Yeah.
Both sides had turned up with, let's settle into this game and then see where it takes us. And as a result, the game kind of never settled at all. It was just that opening 20-25 minutes was just really bitty, really like just no quality in it at all, as you have already said.
Just so stop-start. It was foul, throw-in, free kick. Do you know what I mean? It was goal kick, corner, free kick, throw-in. It was just like there was just nothing happening at all.
I mean, even the goal. So 28 minutes in. Sorry. Then Dempsey gives Ayr United the lead, but it's exactly what you've just said. It's a loose ball, then it's a throw-in, then it's a free kick, and it's just the bits and pieces. The free kick itself, I mean, it's a long way out.
It's also not a free kick for what it's worth. It's also not their throw-in for what it's worth.
You create the free kick, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it's the camera angle for the throw-in is perfect, and I think it's not. I think it should be a Rovers ball. The free kick is soft, I think, is the best you can say for it. Scott Brown's kind of
unnecessary as well.
Absolutely.
That happened all the way through the game as well. Just daft, stupid fouls that people should know better for.
There was a lot of that, especially in the second half, and we were trying to kind of force the issue. But the free kick itself.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it did actually really feel like up to that point that Ayr were playing for set pieces. I don't know if that's, again, something that it has been happening week in, week out with them, but it felt like, they got within 10, 15 yards of the box and they were looking for fouls, they were looking for the chance to kind of to draw in a set piece kind of thing. Which, as Graeme said earlier, it just doesn't feel like an Ayr United side that I've seen in the last 3-4 years, maybe even longer. They've been kind of almost a bit like Partick in a way, like very kind of reliant on the wide men and kind of quick, nippy wingers and kind of getting the ball in, even fullbacks that have done quite good jobs. And yesterday just didn't feel like that at all.
No, a lot of it is just kind of get the ball to the front too and then see what happens from there. Now, the second goal is exactly that. And it's a perfect execution of that.
Fair play.
Being kind of critical of that. But as you say, it is a departure and it is one that you can see when it's not working, why their support haven't necessarily been overly enamoured with their style of play. But the free kick itself for this, again, I'm trying not to be like bitter about it, because I'm not bitter about it, but it feels like what I'm about to say will sound like that. Like, I don't think it's a particularly good. Like, I suppose, sorry, what I mean is, I don't think Ben Dempsey means this. And I think his celebration is quite telling. He's celebrating the way you do when you've scored by mistake, where he gets that kind of wry smile, where he's like, oh, that went well. But
he celebrated less than Curtis Main did.
Yeah.
Curtis Main was away, like, he got his goal.
He was trying to claim it.
What's that about?
Because I think even if it's maybe 5 yards further, 5 yards closer to the goal, certainly 10 yards closer to the goal, you go and you really try and whip that in. And you're thinking, right, I'm going to make sure this is on target. I'm going to make sure there's a lot of pace on it, so that if there's a touch, it'll go in. If there's not a touch, it might still go in. With this, I think he's just gone, somebody's going to have to get a touch on this, because I'm too far out, but I'm just going to whip it in, or not whip it in, curl it in, and we'll see what happens. And then, in the event, what does happen is, well, I mean, I'll let you two give me your thoughts on how to kind of fully describe this. It goes over the heads of Ewan Wilson and Scott Brown, and into the goal, to the left-hand side of Josh Ray. Graeme, you can go first. Who are your culprits? Where are you laying the blame? Is there any mitigation to be had?
I think I'll start at the backwards, forwards, if that makes sense. It wasn't the goalie's fault. I think the goalie's got, well, essentially Curtis Main running across him, right? So if Josh Ray goes for that cross and Curtis Main gets a flick on, he's going to look a tip. So I think he's waiting for what's going to happen next, and by the time nothing happens, it's past him. It goes over Ewan Wilson's head. Ewan Wilson looks like he's at full stretch to try and head it, but it looks like Scott Brown ducks for some reason. I don't know if it goes over his head or what, or I don't know if there's such a short amount of time. You two will probably see it better because you were in the stand. I was on the terrace at the 18-yard line, so I didn't see the flight of the ball. Something like that's going nowhere near the goal. But it looked as though, when you see it in the video, it looks as though it's going over Wilson. Brown's ducked, and it's just going at the back of the net. One of those, see when your luck's down, it's one of those shitty goals that goes in, and so it proved.
So I think between the three of us and the main stand camera, we've kind of got like a 360 view on this. Because I was right on the kind of main stand side of the terrace, behind the goal. And Blair, I think you were on the other side. So someone, I can't remember who it was, someone in our group chat who was watching on the telly, watching the stream, had said immediately, like, did Wilson duck that? And that was what I felt like I had the best view on. I was looking straight at Ewan Wilson. I was like, no, I don't think he did. I think it went over his head. There was no way for him to get to it. And I think that the highlights kind of back that up. He does jump for it and just can't get there. Brown is the one who... I mean, to a degree, it's the same as you say with Ray, where it's like, if he gambles on one thing, he's kind of completely giving up the other. And it's a little bit like that with Brown, where if he gets a touch on it, if he's not entirely confident about how much control he can get on it, he might be putting it into more danger than it is. Blair, is that just a case of, you know, we've used this phrase before, but it's like, put out the biggest fire first. That's a ball that's coming in on target. You need to get something on it. And if that means you direct it into goal, so be it.
Yeah, maybe. I actually think... I think it's actually really, really clever play from Ayr. I don't think they get anywhere near enough credit for it because where I'm standing up, so I'm standing, as you're facing the goal as it goes in, I'm standing behind Josh Ray's left-hand post. So the other side from the camera, if you like, from the highlights. And what you don't see, but if you watch really closely at the edge of the 18-yard box, just before the free kick's taken, Doherty's standing, waiting for Curtis Main's run. He's picking up Curtis Main. And it's Dicko and I think it's McMahon, but I can't actually see it. they two basically shuffle one round. So they come out of the line, go back and come back in front, and they block the run. So what they do is one of them, literally, if you watch it, they lean in and they block. So they block Doherty's run, and the other one's blocking Darrell Connor's run. And that's why Curtis Main, if you watch him, is completely unmarked as he comes through. So the whole point of that, it was when, so I kind of made a face when you said, I don't think that the free kick taker's meant to do that. I don't think he's meant to score. I think he's meant to put the ball exactly where he's put the ball.
And Curtis
because he's looking for Curtis Main. Curtis Main's meant to bury that. Like, that's dropped right in on his toes, and they're just hoping that the referee and the linesman don't spot the blocked runs, which is exactly what happens. They don't spot it. Because you can see Darrell Connor's going tonto, like straight after it, throwing his arms up in the air. Like, he's not saying why has nobody picked him up. He's saying, like, my run was blocked. And Doherty's exactly the same. Two of them are completely blocked off. And so the ball kind of comes through, and Graham's right. Josh Ray can't go to it. But in what world are the only two defenders that we've got defending a set piece coming into the box? Scott Brown and Ewan Wilson. In no world. It's in a world where the basically the good, it's terrible, the good defenders, the ones who are likely to actually get something on it, are completely blocked off. Really clever play, I think. A really shit free kick and a really shit goal, but really well worked.
Yeah, I agree with you. As you say, when I'm saying that he didn't mean it, I think it's exactly what you said there. He gets the delivery that he wants.
Totally.
But I don't think he's going, this is 50-50. Either somebody touches it in or it'll go into the back post.
Yeah.
I think he's like 99% this is going to need a touch. And then it just happens to then go through.
It just to drop in.
I also think you're maybe being slightly kind to Darrell Connor as well. Like,
I'm
Jordan.
not sure if actually, I've just watched it again. It might be J. Roy blocks off. It might not be O'Connor.
So it's funny that because O'Connor kind of gets away again. So if you look at Doherty is the one who, if you were sort of instructing the defence, the Ayr United part of it. So if you're saying to Liam Dick, for example, this is what I want you to do, I can't quite see who it is either. Whoever it is on Doherty is like the perfect example of it. Because he gets right in front of Doherty, gets his hands up without it being enough to really be a foul, and completely stops him. Whereas O'Connor gets away. J. Rowe, I think...
It's J. Rowe.
He kind of gets caught into it because he's actually goal side.
Yeah.
He probably could get away and go...
O'Connor actually just hasn't tracked to run. I was actually being overly kind to O'Connor, I think.
Because he's the one who kind of arrives on the scene just a little bit kind of after the fact.
He's lost the runner.
It's one of these that, like, obviously, we have our little kind of 2-minute amateur go at it just now. Nobody's going to enjoy that analysis session when somebody who knows what they're doing has gone through it, put little rings and little highlight beams down on all the different players, and then watched it back and gone, right, what were you doing there? What was the plan there?
Yeah.
Player X. But the thing is, really, as we've already said, up to this point, there's just nothing in this game. I think there's one half chance for Ayr that's in the highlights. Josh Ray makes a comfortable but a decent save. But in a game where there was so little going on, it's such a cheap goal. And it's such a... And not necessarily all of that is to blame, like as I say, like even though the throw-in going the wrong way, the foul being so soft, it all just adds up to being such a cheap is the only way I can think to describe it.
It's avoidable.
It is. It's avoidable in a whole number of different ways. But then the game is suddenly in Ayer's favour, in a very literal sense. They're winning. But also... The thing I said before, the reason I mentioned it was to bring it back at this point. Dicko playing at left wing back. See, once you're winning, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
If you're losing, that becomes a total ball ache, to put it, indelicately. where you're trying to get on top and you're pushing the ball out to the flank, and the only guy you've got there is a defender first and foremost. But once you're winning and you don't have that onus to have to go and take chances, what you've got there then is Dicko quite comfortably able to look after Josh Mullen, and at any point when he needs to hand them off, quite easily step up and cover J. Rowe. And that then, I think, became the pattern of the rest of the first half, where Ayr didn't really particularly go and create anything else, but they didn't really have to, because we weren't really creating anything either. There's one chance.
Sorry, those first 20 minutes, just honestly, a minute or so before the goal, I turned to Cammy and I'd said, this is a game that's either going to be 0-0 or there's going to be one goal in it.
Yeah.
And I think for the goal to have gone in how it did, yes, it was a delivery, yes, it was in the right place, but that's not what was supposed to happen.
No.
It was just like, it was almost like, there we go.
It's like although it's not, it's like the equivalent of an own goal. It's like the status of an own goal almost. In the nature of it.
Duncan, you could run that 20 times. You didn't score more than 2, 3 maybe out of the 20 times. The way that went in. Do you know what I mean? Curtis Main maybe gets on the end of one, or do you know what I mean? A defender gets a head on it and gets it away. But I don't see that happening very often. It was just the kind of perfect coming together. But it's interesting. What I hadn't really thought about, the Dick going to left wing back thing actually sounds quite like Ayr have actually not gone to impose themselves on the game. They've gone to cancel us out. Because actually, when you look at it, our biggest threat in terms of balls into the box is going to be Josh Mullen. So you've instantly got a pretty competent defender, it's worth saying, but also somebody who's really good in the air. So again, our outball has been that kind of diagonal to Josh Ray. You've got Liam Dick cancelling that out as well. It does seem like it's been kind of almost deliberately engineered to nullify us rather than it being a thing they wanted to do in the game kind of thing.
Which makes sense when you think of the context that we hadn't scored an away goal in the league since, was it the 8th of November? The 28th of November? It was in November anyway.
It was also at Queen's Park.
Yeah. If you close down whatever supply lines that we do have, you've got 90 minutes to go and try and score a goal yourselves. I mean, that proved to be a successful enough strategy for them. It absolutely was. Again, I don't think there's any criticism in that whatsoever.
No.
There's kind of one chance in this first half for the Rovers. It's a slightly odd move that develops where kind of Darragh O'Connor goes straight to Andy Winter, but along the ground into the edge of the box. Winter lays it off to Jack Hamilton, and his low shot is saved well by Max Thompson. In the Ayr United goal. I mean, other than that, Blair, is there a failing in the Rovers' approach in that first half?
Well, we're 1-0 down, so I suppose by definition there has to be. But it's hard. Had we not beat Queen's Park 4-1, had it not been quite so convincing and quite so comfortable, I think, Imrie probably has food for thought and he makes a few changes, maybe even based on what he saw on Tuesday night. But with it having been as good as it was the week before, I think he's perfectly justified to go with the kind of setup that he's gone for. The problem with that is it's reliant on, or the reason it worked so well, in my opinion, on Saturday, was Winter was in and around Jack Hamilton. And the two of them are kind of bustling about each other. And whether it's the fact that they've got centre-halves that can deal with that better than what Queen's Park have got, or whether it be, the surface that's there and the kind of conditions that we're playing in. I don't know what it is, but it didn't work. I thought, again, without being harsh, because I've actually thought he's been okay. I thought it was Winter's poorest game for us. I didn't think he was very good on Saturday at all. He didn't kind of affect the game particularly well, didn't really kind of link up with Jack Hamilton in the same way. I'm not entirely sure that's all his fault, if I'm being honest. It felt like we were back to, instead of having Jack Hamilton isolated, it felt like the two of them were isolated. It's just like it never linked the whole thing together. We kind of set up, I felt, in the same way they did, which was two up top, go, not necessarily direct. They were probably, I thought, a wee bit more direct than us, but it was very much get the ball forward and kind of see what can pop off, see what can happen. But I don't really remember us ever getting, Josh Mullen in behind down the right particularly well, crosses into the box happening. But at the same time, like I said earlier on, whether it be just part and parcel of the two teams cancelling each other out, there was no flow, there was no rhythm to the game for either side. It was so stop-start that the chances of you playing any decent football or getting anything going was just broken up by the constant cheap fouls, throw-ins, free kicks, corners, goal kicks. It's just constant stop-start. But I don't know if that's us being tactically poor or not setting up in the right way or just, like I say, playing a different side, a side that's probably closer to us or is obviously closer to us in terms of the way that they play. It had that thing about two teams cancelling each other out, really.
So the thing with this, like, the difference between the Queen's Park game and this game, and even the difference in the two sides in this game, to some degree, I think comes down to the way that the defence is set up. So Ayr United yesterday have got this back three, whereas Queen's play with the back four. But what that means is when you are going direct, and I agree with you, I do agree, I think Ayr were slightly more direct than we were. But when you think about Ayr going direct, they've got Dowds and they've got Curtis Main up against Hanlon and O'Connor. Whereas when we are doing it yesterday, you're trying to go up to Winter and Hamilton, but they've got Holt, and Leon King and Scott McMahon.
Yeah.
Whereas last week it was a straight match-up against Ewan Murray and whoever the other centre-half was. And it just it made that so much tougher. And I say that other than that one chance, it felt like we never really got very much between Winter and Hamilton.
No.
Because it's really a case of when you go to one of them, the other one's already got two guys to worry about, and we just never quite had the space. And I think it's quite telling that when you look at where a lot of the highlights across this whole game, where they kind of begin or where the Rovers get a little bit of traction, it's Ewan Wilson. Like 70% of the time. And I think that's just the way that was where the space was. Graeme, just to kind of round off the first half, overall kind of reflections from you on that?
I think it's kind of what you guys are saying. I think the fact there was very little ball carrying in midfield and it was all going long. And I think when you look at the four midfielders, there's not really a ball carrier there. Jordan Doherty can do it when he's playing right back, but it seemed Bannigan was at one side, and Bannigan likes to play with the game in front of him almost. Dempsey was like that as well. I've seen Dempsey, being more dynamic than that. He didn't seem to be. And obviously Scott Brown's a bit more dynamic, but didn't seem to be. It was almost like, as you say, it was like the two teams were set out to nullify each other. Now, we seem to get it, as you say, with Ewan Wilson, we seem to get it second half, like, wait a minute, if Ayr are playing three centre-halves, then there is space. And the space is down behind the wing-backs. And it took us 70 minutes or 65 minutes to realise that and start playing that way. Because I remember we're in the group chat and we're having the chat about Vaughan should come on at half-time. And I'm like, well, Vaughan can only come on at half-time if we totally change how we're playing.
Yeah.
Because a consistent long ball up, you're just going to waste Louis Vaughan playing. So if he's coming on, we need to change how we're playing. And I think that chance for Jack Hamilton actually came from somebody breaking through a line and actually playing balls into feet. And it worked. And then it was almost like it took us another 30 minutes to try it again. It was frustrating from that point of view.
It was a wee bit disappointing, I thought, how long it took us to realise that they were sitting deeper. So pretty much from the moment they went 1-0 up, which was actually the biggest surprise for me, given that we're a side who hasn't scored away in the league since November, And let's be perfectly honest, haven't necessarily looked like scoring away for goal since November either. Like away for home, sorry. They went 1-0 up and they seemed to really sit in. It was like, right, okay, we're done now. We're quite happy with 1-0. We'll kind of see it out. And it took us about 10, 15 minutes to realise that, oh, hang on, like actually we could probably just carry the ball another 10 yards because they're getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's when that kind of chance comes in. And then obviously, pretty much right at the start of the second half, we get a chance. And it's much the same kind of thing, actually trying to carry the ball. But it just took us too long to realise, I think.
Just to come back to Andy Winton for a second, you said it's maybe his poorest game. I mean, certainly it would be difficult to argue against that. I don't know what he's good at. I think it would probably
I know what you mean.
be
a
kind of kinder way to kind of put across what I'm trying to say here. He doesn't appear to have added any specific kind of abilities or qualities that we didn't already have, I suppose. Like, you know, in the same way that when we signed John Fredrickson, you could go, well, at least he's tall. Like, I'm not sure what else he's going to do. At least he's big. Whereas with Andy Winter, I suppose his being tall is effort. There's no lack of effort from him. He puts himself about a bit. But
we're no short of effort, though.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like effort's one of the lower kind of rung ones where it's like that, you know, it's not, but that should be a given. But it's just like, I don't know what he's good at. He's kind of like 6 out of 10 kind of across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, it's not really adding anything. Like, you'd almost rather a guy who didn't work as hard but could do like X, Y, Z better than anybody else that we've already got.
He's like an attacking James Brown.
yeah, it really is. Like, just a sort of I think I said this before. I don't think I said it on a podcast. I was probably trying to be slightly nicer because he was brand new, but it was like when you get TV programs, like fictional TV programs about football, like Ted Lasso and Dream Team and all this kind of stuff, and you've got like the actual characters, but there has to be 11 guys on the football team, so there's like 4 extras who are they're in every episode, but they don't have a name or any lines. That James Brown is exactly that, and that's like Andy Winter's kind of falling into that, where you're like, like. It's almost like sometimes you see a chance falls to a player and you go, oh, if only that had happened to that other guy, because he's really good at that thing. And I'm not sure what it is. And it's like, as you said, he worked well last week in that kind of front two, where it was like, look, just be near Jack Hamilton. You're then going 1-for-1 with the 2 centre halves. And with this, as I say, he kind of regressed back to what we'd seen previously when he was playing off the left, when it's like, you are there, you're putting the work in, you're not achieving anything. And that is something
I think that could be levelled at a few yesterday, though. I think that was a bit of a recurring theme throughout the side. I don't think he's alone in being there and not achieving very much. It was. I know what you mean. I
suppose the thing, and this happens with a lot of guys that come in, is the other guys have got like a back catalogue to rely on. So you can go pick on somebody, you go, right,
he can do this, or he can do that.
Like, nothing much came off for Dylan Easton yesterday, but last week he did X, Y, Z. Whereas with Andy Winter, it's like, we've seen him run about a bit in all of his games, and in one of them he ran about a bit to quite good effect.
Yeah,
but like,
for me, it's. I think the Andy Winter of it all. I think it falls on a. For me, it's 2 games now where I've seen him play in what I think is the position he needs to be, or in the area of the pitch he needs to be, which is more central. I think the one thing I've learned is that Andy Winter is not a winger. He's not a wide man in the slightest. And so you've kind of got one really good game playing in that kind of 10 and one not so good game playing in the 10. So I suppose we'll wait and see which which becomes the average, I suppose. I just didn't want to see him. I didn't want to see him shoved back out. He did it on Tuesday night, put him wide right. Like, no, not for me. Doesn't need to be playing out wide. Doesn't offer you anything out wide. He's no slow. He's not particularly quick enough. He doesn't particularly beat a man well enough. Doesn't cross the ball particularly greatly. Like you say, there's no one thing where you kind of pick out. But in terms of that Queen's Park at home game, you know, being around the striker and helping create chances for him, he did that pretty well. Just not on Saturday, unfortunately.
Yeah. He's not done anything wrong either, which is better than the alternative. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think to kind of round off this point, sorry, I realise we've kind of gotten away from the game a wee bit, but he came in right at the start of the window, and I think on the grand scheme of things, I'm not one of these I'm not on the extreme end of the kind of transfer window doom mongers, but I do think there was an element of he came in right at the start of the window, and it just kind of calmed everybody down a wee bit, and it was like, we've signed a striker, so you can all just calm down. And then I've never really played him as one, and he's also not really added a huge amount, really. And it's like, again, I think beating Queen's Park and then beating Queen's Park on penalties midweek again kind of helped with that. And then it's like, wow, sorry, we've lost the game and there's still 2 days in the window left.
It'd be really good if he was just like an amuse bush, just there to cleanse the palate just before the main course. If there's something really good coming in towards the tail end of the window, then aye.
But let's. I'll tell you actually. Sorry, I know I took us there. Let's leave the window for now. We'll maybe come back to at the end just briefly. I'm afraid we have gotten to the second goal in this one. So this actually, I thought at the time, that's a really good goal. This is just really, really good execution of a game plan. Like, this is what you want. This is what you would want your team to do in this. Because it goes from being a loose ball, we can call it a 50-50, maybe, in the middle of the park, to being in the back of the net in about 10 seconds. So Liam Dick kind of crashes into a challenge with Jay Rowe, sends the ball off to Anton Dowds. He clips it across the park for Curtis Main. It's a really good take on the chest for Curtis Main, but he then just kind of calmly waits a second or two for Dowds to get in the box, plays him in, and it's a nice finish from Anton Dowds past Josh Ray. Graeme, in terms of the post-mortem for this one, just your overriding impressions, please.
Oh dear me. I think because it was at the opposite side from where we were, it didn't look clever on first viewing, and it looked even worse, I think. And their fans posted the goal on Twitter, and you see it from sort of their side of the terrace, and it looks worse. That there looks as though Jay Rose hesitated.
Yeah.
And I can't say his name. The number 3, didn't he? It's still too hurtful to say his name. The number 3, didn't he? And he won the ball. So Jay Rowe looks as though he's going, doesn't go, then goes. And you think if he had some more conviction, he would have got it. Then obviously Dowd slips it to Main, and then we all seem attracted to Curtis Main. We've got about 3 guys around him. Meanwhile, Anton Dowds is on the blind side of Jordan Doherty. The both of them are just ambling. Dowd see what's happening, and Dowd sprints, and Jordan's still ambling, and Dowd gets it in loads of space. I think O'Connor could have engaged with him sooner, but it's a good finish. The guy can finish. It was a good finish. He didn't give him chances like that, but preventable. I think really preventable. I think it was two, well, maybe 3 elements in there, and I think if any of them had gone our way, that goal was preventable.
Blair, for you, where are the preventable hotspots in this one?
I agree with all of that. You just need J-Ro to kind of rattle through the ball, and at least have it squirrel away for a throw in or something. I don't know if I'm being really harsh. I mean, I'm not a goalie coach by any stretch of the imagination. When you've got a player who is in the position that he is in, taking the shot with his left foot from the left across the goalie. So, like, if the play goes down the left-hand side as it did for their left, and that's Dylan Easton for us, for example. He's cutting back in on his right and he's whipping it round the goalie. So it's starting outside the goalie and it's coming back into the bottom corner. Anton Dowds hits that with his left foot. I don't think he hits it particularly hard. I mean, it's a decent enough strike. It's not like it's not a trundler or anything by any stretch. But he's not like laces through, proper smashed it in the bottom corner. He's kind of hit it with his left foot. So for me, if there's any movement on the ball, it's going from inside, from Josh Ray's side and across him. And there's the angle, the last replay in the thing. I'm not sure Josh Ray's positioning's particularly good. I don't know if he's just worried about his front post, which has maybe been a bit of a weakness for him, I suppose. But for him to hit it with his left foot across the goalie and find that bottom corner, I don't know. Like I say, I'm not a goalie coach by any stretch, but I think Josh Ray will look at that again and go, I maybe should have got that. Maybe I'm being harsh.
I think it's a wee bit harsh. I think because he's not a million miles away from it, and he's not. It runs across into the side net, and it's not like it goes in the middle of the goal.
No.
I think if he saves that, you're calling it a very good save, probably, put it that
maybe,
way.
Yeah.
I'm feeling charitable because I think I'm also going to offer a very slight kind of defence for J-Ro as well. I think it's not even a defence, it's more, I suppose, an explanation for what happens there. I think Liam Dick goes in all or nothing, whereas J-Ro is thinking, if I win this, I can keep going. And I think it's that kind of thing where he thinks, if I just dive in, I'm not going to, create anything. Whereas he thinks, if I can get the other side of Liam Dick here and come away with the ball, I've got an actual chance to go and kind of create an attack. Like, I don't think Liam Dick's going into it thinking, I can get the ball to Anton Dowds here. I think he's just going into it. I don't want J-Ro to have it. And it happens to work very well for him. But ultimately, you could very quickly make the case then that, well, J-Ro should have just done the same thing. Maybe it would have popped up for Scott Brown or somebody. It's... Again, I think that's one of these where there's also, you're going to lose 50-50s in the middle of the park. The whole team then needs to be able to respond better. Across one of the very, I think it's basically the camera angle from the other end of the park, you can hear Dougie Imrie delivering a very forthright assessment to Darrell Connor, who he thinks should have gone to the ball. With some additional industrial language added in. The whole thing, to me, it looks like the Rovers are in slow motion. They just never seem to... Or it's almost like a bit of a kind of training game. Like, Dougie Imrie in his post-match talks a fair bit about United will just take a foul. And he's talking it in very kind of like tones of admiration. Like, they'll just take a foul and we won't. And I wonder if he's possibly thinking about Ewan Wilson in this one. Because as Curtis Main controls the ball on his chest, Ewan Wilson almost kind of moves his body around him as he goes the wrong way. And you think, you don't even need to flatten him. You just see if you just put an arm across him, you'll bring him down, you'll get booked, but you'll stop the attack.
Yeah.
Like, you can take one of these kind of cheap one. You don't need to go to the risk of hurting anybody. You don't need to clatter into them, but you can just pull them back. And that's the one when I think you feel like there is too much danger there. It's just... I
think this is probably a good point as well to bring up the the Anton Dowds of it all. and the Jack Hamilton of it all. So for me, I thought yesterday was a really good kind of demonstration, if you like, of the issue that I have with Jack Hamilton up front for us. And I do caveat this with a massive humble pie of the hat-trick last weekend. And I get that. And I actually thought he was okay yesterday again. Genuinely, I thought he did. What he did fine. No issues. But it gets back to that, how we play when he's in the team and how we play when he's not there. And, like, if you watch Anton Dowds, like, from the first minute, every time the ball goes to the goalie, he's charging it down. He's running about like a madman. That goal starts and ends with Anton Dowds as well. You know, that ball drops to him. He plays the ball to Curtis Main, and he plays it in a way that says, you're giving me this back. Like, I'm not putting you in here. That wasn't a ball in front of him. It's a ball into his feet, you know, or a ball into his, I suppose it's in his chest, but a ball into his body. Get the ball down and give me the ball back. And then shapes up the goalie and gets his shot away. And I just feel like there's a real juxtaposition between those two, and they're actually doing very much the same job for us, for me anyway, in terms of what they're being asked to do, which is to be that big kind of forward-playing target man, because he plays in front of Curtis Main quite a lot, so Curtis Main's the one that's kind of knocking the ball down to him or trying to flick the ball onto him or whatever. It's just the movement feels different. It feels more... It's not even always more purposeful, actually. It's just more aggressive. Like, it's more in your face. He's rushing. There was a couple of times we very nearly in the first half lost goals from actually trying to play the ball out for the back. He forces a back pass to Josh Ray that, and absolutely no fault of Josh Ray's, bounces over his foot and luckily was off target, and he ends up hooking it away before it even goes out for a corner. But just that pressure, that harry, that push, I just feel like that's missing for us. I really do. I just don't think we offer it. Yeah. Sorry, that's maybe really harsh this week.
No, I don't think it is. And it's, if anything, it lets me kind of piggyback on a point I was going to make anyway. So I mean, I said during the game yesterday, kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, how much credit does a hat-trick buy you? Like, do you get a week off? And I think you do. However... I do also think that it's... so, as an immediate response to the goal, the Rovers make 3 substitutes. So, Paul Incio, Ross Matthews and Lewis Vaughan come on for, who would it have been? Josh Mullen, Jay Rowe and Andy Winter. Jordan Doherty then kind of reverts to right back. So what we've now got is Lewis Vaughan is on the park. He's kind of nominally, I suppose you would say he's the kind of second striker, like Winter has been. But I mean, ultimately at this point, we're 2-0 down, so we are trying to get forward anyway. But if you then, we'll go through the key points in a second or two, but if you then just take this block of the game, so it's about half an hour, I think, and you look at the number of chances that Lewis Vaughan gets in this half hour, compared to the number of chances that Jack Hamilton had between, say, September and last week.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because again, we talked about it, and it's, do you need to be creating chances for him? Do you need to be, you know, it doesn't need to be movement, it needs to be this, it needs to be that. But ultimately, Vaughan comes on and he's getting headers, he's getting shots, he scores a goal. And like, Jack Hamilton's still there at the same time. So he does. He gets a good chance in this as well. Again,
he does.
This was not a bad game for Jack Hamilton. This almost is more backing up points I made a couple of weeks ago before he scored a hat-trick, which is like, is that it's like the movement and everything that comes with it just isn't quite where it needs to be. And as you say, Anton Dowds is a contrast on the other side. But then Vaughan comes off the bench and is a contrast in the same team. I mean, in terms of that, so I think there is an immediate impact, and it's worth saying there is the kind of state of the game to take into account. So Ayr United are 2-0 up, so they don't need to go and force anything else. But Ewan Wilson has a decent shot, forces a really good save out the keeper. Hamilton's header comes at this point. Paul Ince has a header that goes over the bar. Graeme, I suppose the question then is, how much of that do you think is down to the fact that Ayr were maybe prepared to, settle for what they had, versus the impact of substitutes?
I think all through the second half we played better. Definitely substitutes were a big sort of kickstart as well, but I thought we played better at the start of the second half because we actually looked to play in those wee pockets behind the wing backs. I think we showed the naivety of the young right back as well, because Ewan Wilson, the amount of space he had down that left hand side was unbelievable. And then when we made the change with Jordan going to right back as well, he seemed to get an awful lot of space as well down the right hand side, and he was quite happy to take people on and cut inside. So I think, I think at half time the sub I would have been looking for was probably Paul Ensio coming on, because he'll carry the ball forward. But at that point, you look at your two centre midfielders who were Doherty and Brown and go, how do you get rid of one of them? So that for me, that was a sensible move. And the way we were playing, Lewis Vaughan was a sensible move to bring on as well. Because we know his issues, but he's a very, very clever football player. That goal was all down to him and how clever he is. We'll come on to it, but essentially, he picks the ball up into his feet. What is he, 25, 30 yards out? He plays it out and he keeps going. And the fact that he scores that goal is because Jack Hamill's waiting on the cross with three centre-halves at him, standing there waiting in a line for this cross to come in. But Louis Vaughan's on the move, and nobody's picking him up because he's coming into the box late, he's got the space, he's got the time, bang, go. And that's
but it's also worth pointing out, that's a cross that never went in once in the 60 minutes that preceded it. Not once. And actually, as harsh as it is on J. Rowe, we got so much better when Doherty went to right back. Now, whether that's because Doherty's better out of the middle of the midfield, or because Incio's in front of him and is kind of driving the game on, or because, actually Dick was still on at that point. So I don't even know what the difference is. But I feel a wee bit harsh about saying about J. Rowe, because, since that Hamilton game, I've said it before, he's kicked right on, he's done really, really well. But is he as good as Jordan Doherty? No, I don't think he is. I don't think that's a failing on his part. I think Doherty's just he's a better right back, actually. And when Doherty kind of is on that right-hand side, and it was the same on Tuesday night, he's just a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more kind of up and around play. But like I say, that cross, I don't think it's any coincidence that Vaughan scores that header, that Hamilton gets that chance, that it's all coming from that same cross that just didn't happen for an hour. It wasn't even close to happening. And that's with Josh Mullen on the park, who's a very good crosser of the ball. It's not like we didn't have somebody who can cross a ball in. Something fundamentally changed in the way we played in that last half hour. And that's what I think Dougie Imrie has to be looking at and going, right, how do we recreate that? Whatever it was, whatever one bit or two bits of trickery that he did that changed it, that's what he needs more of. Because actually, it brought the best out of Hamilton, it brought the best out of Vaughan, it brought the best out of Doherty. I thought Incio did pretty well when he came on, and he's kind of barreling at the box for a chance. There's something in that.
Yeah, I think we're in the same place, which is in isolation, J. Rowe isn't playing sort of quote unquote badly enough.
Nothing. No, nothing dropped. At all.
But it's the evidence of your own eyes. We got better when that all changed around, and even to the point where, just to take it from a slightly different angle, Jordan Doherty, I think, is safe to say is one of our best players.
Yeah,
wasn't he in that game for the first hour?
No, it wasn't.
Now, whether that was down to him, whether that was down the way the game was going, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. He wasn't affecting the game. So we've got one of our best players not affecting the game. And as soon as we moved him right back, he was. So actually, yes, even by that token, maybe it makes more sense to go back to Doherty right back, put somebody else in the middle, whether it's Insio, whether it's Ross Matthews.
Well, that's the key thing, though. He's not in the middle because we have nobody else to play in the middle. He's in the middle through choice. He's literally sitting there with two centre midfielders on the bench waiting to play in that position. He doesn't need to play him there.
And I think, he's been decent in the middle in a lot of games as well. He's got a lot of good football in him. But it was that yesterday in particular, there wasn't any football being played. And it was a bit of a kind of false errand. There are, as I say, other chances in this one. The biggest of them is, again, it's Lewis Vaughan. This one, I just want to call out one quick thing on this, which is Paul McMullen's contribution, because he's been getting a pretty hard time. And the ball that he puts over to Jordan Doherty here is, not only is it very, very good, I think there's very few players who make that.
Yeah,
it's the clever awareness. He knows Doherty's there and he picks him out. I think 9 out of 10 other players in the division just put it in the middle first time. But he sees where
keeper comes out and takes
in the space. Exactly. Picks him out. So just a very briefly thing for Paul
McMullen. I've seen Paul McMullen play really well twice. Both times he's played on the left. Now, when we played at Firhill the first time, did we have an injury or something? But he went sort of left in the field.
Josh Mullen got sent off.
Yeah.
No, sorry, the first game. So,
yes. Oh, you're right.
Down in the first game, and Robson changed the formation, and McMullen went left, and he said he got penalty and all this sort of thing. He was excellent then, and then yesterday, playing on the left, he brought how he whips that ball in, because there's no backlift on that cross. He just flips it. It was because he was right in front of us when we put those kind of crosses in, and he just looked more effective there than he has anywhere else I've seen him play. Bizarre.
Blair, it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Does Lewis Vaughan get too good a contact on this header?
No, I actually think he's the maker of his own downfall, in that he's got so much time. This is the one where he heads it straight to the goalie we're talking about, eh? Yeah. So I think he's got so much time that he thinks about where he's putting it. And I felt for him, because actually, like I say, we're so in a straight line from Vaughan's head, goalie, I'm directly back. So he's like directly towards me. The goalie's moving across the goal. And so he's almost done that thing where he's trying to head at it where the goalie was, because the goalie's moving away from it. But he just stops moving. He just, in the split second, he just plants his feet, and it ends up coming almost straight to him with a bit of a kind of stretch to the side. I think had it been a bit more pace on the ball, perhaps, I think Vaughan hasn't got the time to think about it, and instinctively just goes bottom corner, top corner. He finds that side. I think he has just seen the goalie and thought, I'm going to put this where he was, and goes to put it across him. Really unlucky, because you're right, he gets a really good contact on it, but it's very deliberate for me, the direction he puts the ball in. And I think it was in that split moment, it's exactly where I wanted him to put it. I was like, goalie stopped.
She properly he gets all the power in the world behind it. Like he's full kind of neck behind it. And then, I mean, it's the next clip in the highlights. It felt to me like this was about 10 seconds later in real time.
Yeah.
Again, it's Paul McMullen on the left-hand side. And again, it's Ewan Wilson on the kind of overlap, gets the byline, whips across. Vaughan's running into near post, gets a touch on it. And, I mean, I had a fairly narrow angle on this. I thought, for all the world, I thought that was in the goal.
Same. So did I.
Graeme, from your vantage point, and I suppose you can tell me if you thought it had gone in or not, but is there anything more that Vaughan can do with that?
No, it's what can you do? Because you can only get the slightest of touches on that. Because if you get a heavy touch, then it's going beyond the front post. But it was just the spark.
Yeah.
There was a spark there. You've come out of that game. Yeah, when all said and done, you've lost 2-1. Yeah, you've lost 2 stupid goals that were avoidable. I suppose Ayr could say the other goal was avoidable as well. But you kind of feel your tail's up a wee bit. Because there was that, and it's more a case of why was the 65 minutes before that so shit?
Yeah.
But there was a spark, there was chances galore. You know what? At one point it was like the Alamo. You know, Ayr did very, very... No wonder they got 7 yellow cards, and I think most of them were in the last 10 minutes. As Dougie Imrie says, they were doing anything to stop us. And it was good to see a Stramash again as well. I like a Stramash. It was good to see that happening as well. But it was constant pressure, which was great to see, making good chances rather than just... There seemed to be a purpose towards what we were doing, rather than just hoofing the ball up the park to try and get a goal, which was great to see. There was patterns of play there. Just God knows how we didn't.
Vaughan's at the heart of every single one of them, though. He's right in the middle. Even the one we'll probably come on to next is the Hanlon header. But Vaughan's taking that corner, so like I say, we're that side. He's kind of over there, and he's hands up, and he's doing this with the kind of flat movement. He's saying, "I'm going to play it, and I'm going to play it like this." Every defender can see that. I'm going to play it like this, and he plays it like that, and he picks out a man, and then he does it again, and he picks out a man. It's like the quality, the ability to literally tell the world, "This is what I'm about to do. Try and stop me." Just is another level.
Yes, I think the usual dynamic with players is that they get better in the minds of the support the longer they're out.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think by the way, we are entering this territory with Richard Chin.
Yeah.
Where I think is he possibly still only actually started one game for us, and it's like, how come Chinny's not playing? Well, he's good, but like there's not a big enough body of evidence to say that he's a world beater. Anyway, that's not a problem. I'm not digging at Richard Chin by any means at all. But the opposite happens with Lewis Vaughan. The longer he's out, people seem to forget. Like, no, he's the best player by like a significant margin. There's nobody else in that Rovers side who, if they weren't playing for the first hour, could come on for the last half hour and make that much difference.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean players we've got right now. I mean, you could probably take the last 5, 6, 7 years worth of Rovers players.
Yep.
There's none of them getting near them. And I mean, to your point, Graeme, I think there is an element of pessimism, optimism. What do you want to take from that? Do you watch a game like that and go, well, we huffed and we puffed and we get beat anyway? Or do you look at it and you go, well, actually, last half hour we created all these chances. Again, to use that same dynamic you said earlier about Dempsey's free kick, if you rerun that game 10 times, I don't know that necessarily an Ayr win is 6, 7, 8 of them. I think if you rerun that game 10 times, it's probably a draw 6 of them, and the teams maybe win 2 each. And it just happened to be that the reality, this particular universe that we happen to live in, is an Ayr United one. But I mean, I suppose let's just forget about this game for now and move into the next bit. I mean, in terms of like the rest of the season, there was a lot of gnashing of teeth yesterday evening about we're only X number of points off relegation, even though we're Y number of points off the promotion playoffs and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, I've really set myself up for a fall here. I'm not concerned about the relegation side of things. Now, to be fair, mostly because of the dynamic of the division, more so than anything else. So, nobody up to this point, in terms of the teams around us, has shown any real ability to put a run together. Like, everybody wins a game, loses a game, wins a game, draws a game, loses a game, wins a game. And there's odd variations in there that split them apart. I don't believe, currently, I'm not trying to do a Wayne Spence here, but I don't believe currently that there is enough of a absence of quality in this Rover side that they go and lose, a big string of games on the bounce. Partly, I don't think the Rovers are bad enough for that. I also don't think there's enough good other teams in the division to kind of sustain. Like, where are you finding 6 decent opponents in a row? And again, you look at the teams who've beaten us recently. Like, Dunfermline beat us relatively comfortably. and then get beat by Airdrie because their goalie's chucked one in. Like, all the teams have the propensity to do that at different times. So I think broadly what's going to happen is that is going to happen. There's a funny thing, maybe this is just me, but the January window does a weird thing where, because it's January, I just have this mindset of, we're halfway through the season. Like, get your January business right, and the second half of the season will be different. We've played 2/3 of our games. Like, half of the season was a long time ago. We've only got 12 games left. And I just don't think there's going to be that big a shift in a dynamic. Like, we would have to get markedly worse, and 3 or 4 other teams would have to get markedly better. And I just don't really think that's going to happen. And absolutely, the biggest factor in that is Lewis Vaughan. Because actually, if Lewis Vaughan plays the next 12 games, honestly, we might finish 4th, even without doing any other business. Because the margins between all the teams in this division are so tight, and he's a guy who's good enough to actually go and push you below it. He's a Josh Fowler. And it's I mean, so for the two of you, so Graeme, in terms of, as you say, January, the window closes tomorrow for cross-border loans or anybody permanent. So if you're going to get anything sexy done, it's going to be tomorrow. Albeit you can still get loans from the top flight for, I think, the best part of another month or so. Are you at panic stations? Do you need someone to arrive tomorrow to stop you chucking the telly at the window, or are you quite calm and zen about the whole thing?
I'm too long in the tooth. I've seen this roller coaster for more years than I care to remember. I'm pretty cool. Yeah, I think Dougie Imrie was brought in to do a job. Dougie Imrie, we all know, can get an extra 5-10% out of players when he works with them long enough. I think he can do that. I think Lewis Vaughan coming into the team, you could not get a signing like that in the January window.
Mm-hmm.
We have had a few players come in January who have been absolutely horseshit. Centre forwards especially. I think we probably will bring maybe 1 or 2 in at some point. But I don't see the mad clamour to do it immediately. We're maybe a wee bit lacking at the back with injuries, but that only comes down to how long are Fordyce and Stevenson going to be out for. I don't see any major panic stations from me anyway. I think what we've got there is, as you say, is good enough to stay up. I think the teams are very much a much of a muchness, and it depends on the quality or how many star players you have. St Johnstone seem to have loads of them. Partick Thistle have got a good few of them. And you know, we've got a couple of match winners in Vaughan and Easton, and it's just about them performing and doing it hopefully at the same time. I think you need both of them firing. And this might be, you know, me talking rubbish, but I think we'll be fine. I think you start panicking about relegation when it's maybe March or April. I didn't think you start panicking about that in January.
So listen, you don't know what's around the corner. Right? It wouldn't take an awful lot to put me to a fairly worried position. Like, you probably, as few as 2 injuries, you know, to the wrong players, and I'd start to be pretty concerned. But you can't live your life like that. Blair, given where we are, we've got 12 games left, given the state of the league and the teams around us, the points totals and where we are, to what extent would you be prepared to kind of push the boat out for someone if it was only for 6 months or whatever it is? You know, if it was someone said, right, you can have this player, an agent phones you up, you can have this player, it's a decent wage, but he's going to America in the summer.
Like, I know what you're trying to... I totally see the point you're making, which is
why my loaded question.
Yeah, why spend the money if you're going to finish in the same league position you were going to anyway? It's kind of almost chucking good money after bad. And I think to an extent that is exactly true. The chances of us finding another Sam Stanton, who was a January transfer, probably one of the only January transfers I can remember, certainly in the last 10 years, that's worked out as well for a period of time as it did. You're looking at somebody coming in from likes of a League of Ireland or coming in for the States or somewhere where, it's the end of their season, because it's not then a mid-season transfer. The likelihood of getting somebody like that is slim to none. I think the only name I've heard kind of banded around that interests me at this point is Stuparevic, who's come away from Motherwell. I would like to see us bring somebody in who can do or who is tasked with the same job as Jack Hamilton, simply because I think we need an alternative to Jack Hamilton. And I don't mean that in terms of get rid of Jack Hamilton, we never want to see him in a Rovers shirt again. I just mean if we do the same thing every single week, we just become so easy to play against. And all we're doing at this point is changing up who's around Jack Hamilton. So you play Jack with Winter off of him, or you play Jack with Vaughan off of him, or you play Jack with Easton off of him, and then we try McMillan off of him. And it's like we try everything off of him. Maybe we try not him. Just to try something different. Maybe Jack Hamilton's the guy who comes off the bench and scores the winner in the last 20 minutes of a game, rather than being the guy who's tasked with trying to lead the line every single week, week in, week out. So having an alternative to that, a target man, for want of a better phrase, a 9, a forward. And I don't, honestly, at this point, I don't think they have to be somebody who scores 10, 15 goals from the end of the season. If you can get somebody who can come in and create the space for Vaughan and Easton to have that magic, that might be enough. That might be just enough to see us over the line. So I think for the right player at the right price, I think we absolutely are. We're probably one forward away from being where we need to be. I actually agree. Everybody's clambering for a centre half. I mean, there was somebody online the other day going tonto that we never signed Tam Lang. Other than making the calendar look better, I'm not up for signing Tam Lang at this point. Thanks very much. We've got, again, Doherty. So Doherty fills in at right back, he fills in at centre half. I'm pretty certain he could fill in at left back if push came to shove. He's your defensive cover, effectively, at this point, until the other two are back and fit. We've got, at this point, 3 centre midfielders vying for 2 positions. We've got 3-4 wide men. You've got sort of Mullen and Mick Mullen, and then you've got Easton, who plays in that wide left in a totally different kind of role, plus the 2 young boys, Gibson and Chin, that are there. There is plenty of cover all over the pitch. You're right, though. 2 or 3 injuries to the wrong players and you're in a different position. But there's cover everywhere. The one place we don't have the alternative. And actually, maybe Andy Winter is that alternative. Maybe the option is Andy Winter playing with Vaughan off of him. I know, I agree. I don't think he is either. But we've not seen it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe just somebody a wee bit more mobile might make the difference, because it's still the only criticism that I have of us when we have Jack Hamilton is it's just all feels a bit laboured. It's a bit slow, a bit predictable, a bit easy to defend against. And I don't actually, as much as it sounds like I'm slagging off Jack Hamilton, I think that's Jack Hamilton doing what Jack Hamilton does. And he's doing it fine. He wins his headers, he brings the ball down, he gets folk into play. I'm not sure we play as well with him in the side at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a really unenviable position to be in as a football club, I suppose, as a manager, as a board agreeing a budget or sanctioning, additional spending or whatever it is, because you've always got that element of, an extra position in the league is worth X amount of money.
Yeah.
You speculate on that basis. Ultimately, I think we saw at the end of last season, the margins between finishing in 4th or finishing in 5th or finishing in 6th can be very, very tight. We know that in this division.
It could be 4th to 8th this year, though. That's the thing. The swing's big.
And again, I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say, I don't think we're finished the bottom 2. Like, I just can't really see that. if I was in an actual decision-making position, which, bear in mind, at least one person thinks I should be. Listen carefully to the words I'm saying. Maybe I wouldn't be quite so bullish, right? But I don't think we are. So if it was a case of, look, so you can get a player in just now, but I mean, I'm making up this scenario. So you can get a player in just now, but they are only going to be here until January. Until the summer, and then they're away. Like, categorically, that you've no chance of keeping them beyond. Or you can kind of keep that money back almost, or you can use it in a pre-contract discussion with somebody. Like, that's the kind of conversations I wonder if aren't actually happening. Where it's like, yeah, listen, you can put down X £1,000 and you'll get an 18-year-old striker from St Mirren for the next 4 months. Or you could actually take that money and you could take it to a guy who's doing pretty well in League One and get him signed up for next season. And I think it's not as simple as just saying,
no, it's not.
Let's sign Tom Lang. Which, like, we've got 4 senior centre halves. Jordan Doherty's played most of this season at centre half. We've got 4 senior centre halves. Like, we're not getting a fifth. We've got, as you say, numerous options out wide. So it's even, again, like, if somebody comes along and says, right, here's a really, really good winger, and they will sign for you just now on a longer contract, then great. If you're improving what's there. But if it's just a case of they're coming in for a couple of months, I don't think they're not going to. I can't see. Listen, we're not going to do enough business in this window to get us promoted, right? Put it that way.
No.
Even if we do enough to finish 4th, we're not getting through 3 rounds of playoffs. There's just the pieces aren't there to be able to do it. So, yes, in a kind of football manager world where ultimately nothing else really matters, then sure, you'd go and you'd push the boat out. But when you're still thinking about next year and God, there's pitches and stuff to consider as well, I'm not overly surprised that we're not seeing 4 and 5 guys turning up in this window. There's only a finite amount of money available.
That's exactly it. We're no 4 or 5 bodies away from where we need to be with the squad that we've got. No, unless you're shipping 4 or 5 out at the same time. If you're replacing them, fair enough. But just having 4 or 5 extra subs is not doing you any good. Unless you can bring somebody in who offers you something that you don't have. And at the moment, that's a 9. And that's maybe harsh. We've got one, but we didn't have an alternative.
We're filling a 9-man bench. Granted, there's maybe 1 or 2 guys on there that you could say potentially aren't quite at the level. But I think Ayr only had 7
making 5 subs yesterday.
Exactly. I don't think we're at that kind of dire straits. Graeme, any final thoughts from you for this evening?
I'm going to abuse my position here, guys, and I hope you don't mind. And I know that supporters of other teams listen to this. I know that directors of our own team and other teams listen to this, and I know some players listen to this. So,
weirdos.
Yeah, they are weirdos. I just don't get it. This listening to somebody else's podcast and then going,
this is not for you.
You said something I don't like, so I'm going to clip you and put it on the internet. Fuck, this is a little bit mental. Anyway, I'm going to abuse my position. My son bought for his friend's 18th a brick at Somerset Park, and he paid for it in August, and he told them what he wanted on it, and they've taken the money out of his bank, and they haven't responded to emails, and we just want to know where the brick is, please. So if somebody from United can contact me and let me know where the brick that my son paid for is, that'd be great. And I don't want to put pressure on you, but his sister got my son one for his 18th, and it was up in Starks Park inside 3 weeks. No pressure, boys, but just let me know, that'd be great. Sorry, I apologise.
Somerset Bob, we're talking to you.
Listen, if this podcast exists for any reason, it's to grind personal grievances.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is, if nothing else, that's what I like being able to do with this. So, delighted to hear it. Really, we should turn up with more issues like that, as far as I'm concerned. Listen, just wait until we make up the board of directors. You'll really.
I'm raging. I'm not. I'm disgusted.
It's fine. We'll
Can't
get
wait
Davy
for that
Hancock
brick
in
to come through your front window as well.
We'll get Davy in to ask you about the bricks that Cammy's not received. Right, I think that's enough of that. Thank you, everybody, for listening, as always. There is no game next weekend. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound quite pleased about that.
I know.
There's no game next weekend. So obviously we'll be taking the break alongside, but we'll be back, I would imagine, a week on Thursday to look ahead to the Scottish Championships version of Wife Swap, as Dougie Imrie's Wraith Rovers travel to Capel to play Ian Murray's Greenock Morton. Yeah, so
I
we'll
can't wait for the intro to that podcast.
Right, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.